to Dr. Adam, to all my classmates. I'm K. Murali. I'm today presenting a topic on is nuclear deterrence still relevant under modern warfare under Dr. Adam A0F7005. This is with my content. Definition: nuclear deterrence during Cold War, nuclear deterrence, critics of a nuclear deterrence, can nuclear weapons be prohibited, conclusions and references. What is actually nuclear deterrence? The theory of nuclear deterrence was originally formulated in the years of after World War II by such seminal thinkers like Bernard Brodie, Thomas Schelling, and Suleiman Khan. Nuclear deterrence has generally been considered fundamental to the prevention not only a nuclear disaster but also of general conventional war among the major powers. Nuclear deterrence till today have actually prevented major powers on the nuclear disaster and also on the conventional war. And all nuclear states have acknowledged possessing nuclear weapons, claimed that the purpose of having a nuclear weapons is because of the deterrence, including North Korea. North Korea's development on the nuclear weapons actually been supported and also they have defied. It's not because of what to deploy for the war, but to only for the deterrence strategy. This is actually in 2018 estimated global nuclear warheads inventories of all 9 states. There are 9 states, nuclear states in the world, namely United States, Russia, France, United Kingdom, China, Pakistan, India, Israel, and the latest is North Korea. And the estimated inventories clearly says that United States and so Russia has the highest number of nuclear warheads, with about 6,000 plus each. They're having it. The definition of nuclear deterrence was actually defined by a famous scholar called Friedman in 2016. Sorry, in 1989. He mentioned that attempt by one power to influence the decision making of another by the threat of use of force. This was a famous quote by a definition by Friedman. And he also came out with the what you call definition of nuclear deterrence in 2016. What kind of policies to be adopted, what kind of delivery system to put, and how many weapons to deploy is the combination, 3 combinations of a nuclear deterrence. And there was one actually famous quote also by Kamat in 2013. He says, "Do not attack me, because if you do, something unacceptable will happen to you." These are some of the definitions on the nuclear deterrence. What is nuclear deterrence and when does it actually was deployed or was engaged? After the 2049, there was more on a Cold War period between the United States and Russia, United States and Soviet Union. And both countries actually each built a stockpile of nuclear weapons during the Cold War. However, the United States adopted nuclear deterrence by developing and deploying several types of a delivery system. So the Soviet Union has a confidence saying that at that period during the Cold War, if they can go for a war, definitely they can fight the United States and also defeat the United States. But the United States was not in the approach or engagement to go for a war on nuclear, but they came out with the idea to adopt a nuclear deterrence by developing and deploying several types of delivery system. So there are 3 main delivery system, very known delivery system, that which helped the United States to deter the global nuclear states attempt of war. The first is the long-range manned aircraft carrying nuclear bombs. Second is land-based intercontinental ballistic missiles with nuclear warheads. And third is nuclear-powered submarines armed with the nuclear ballistic missiles. These 3 actually are the delivery systems in order to attack the adversaries or enemies in case there is a war, nuclear war. And these three delivery systems are the three delivery systems helped create the nuclear strategy, nuclear deterrence strategy, and they are famously known as a strategic triad. Any one of the three alone was powerful enough to deter attack because no enemy could realistically hope to destroy all three at the same time. The triad seemed almost invulnerable, and since 1945 they have never been used in a war but deterrence only. So this tree, we call it as a strategic leg. Strategic triad is a leg, that three legs that is very strong, powerful to deter the deterrence, to deter any nuclear states. Nuclear deterrence can be used for two, can be used to fight and win the war, can only be used to prevent wars as a means of deterrence. So deterrence strategy actually they are divided into two parts, but the main part that has been helped and also hold on by all the nuclear states is to prevent wars as a means of deterrence. These are the three tried strategy leg: the nuclear submarine, nuclear weapon, the nuclear powered submarine, the aircraft, and also the land missile. The famous quote for nuclear deterrence is the two definitions. One is mutually assured destruction, and the second is the balance of terror. What's mutually assured destruction? It came after 1960s. It became very clear that nuclear wars would not have any winners, and it would be an act of homicide. So mutually assured destruction is that when two nuclear states go for a war, and there is definitely mutually assured destruction for both states or both countries. So this actually withholding the two nuclear states from going to war, which is also claimed as a nuclear deterrence. And also the balance of terror. Especially the Americans and Russians have balanced each other out of about 50 years. The reason why? Because they're worried about the terror that happens if the balance is not being kept. So these are the two main elements that have been used for nuclear deterrence. What are the advantages and also benefits of being to have the nuclear deterrence? There are four that I can come up with. No major power conflict has been taken place for 70 years. As after the nuclear weapons been developed by nuclear states, there's no major major power conflict within taken place in 70 years. The second, there has never been a direct military conflict within two nuclear states. There's no two nuclear states. For example, Pakistan and India. Pakistan and India actually have won war in 1962, 65 and 71. But after the late 80s, where the two countries became a nuclear powered states, there's no direct military conflict between the two states. Even though there is issues of terrorism and also disputes, but two states never gone for war. Same also for India and China. They have gone for a war in 1962, but after that, the two countries still maintain their steadiness of not going for a war between the two. No nuclear armed country has been ever invaded. The best we know is Israel, 1948. They were invaded by the Arab countries, but after that, when Israel became the nuclear weapon state, no other Arab states actually intended or have actually pursued for an invasion on Israel. Even though the country has been surrounded by Arab countries, so it still maintains independence till today. Nuclear deterrence state never been target of major state attack. There are no so far record of a chemical and so biological attack on the nuclear states. For example, Egypt used chemical weapons against Yemen during 1962 to 67, but not against Israel in 67 to 73. Why? Because it's believed it's because due to nuclear deterrence strategy. Likewise, Iraq had done the same in the war against Iran. They also used biological chemical weapon against Iran during 80s to 1988. by only 5 conventional missiles against Israel during the first Gulf War. So that also gives the benefits and advantages for nuclear deterrent states. These are some of the critics and also arguments on nuclear deterrence. I'll just name a few of it. There are about 11 points that I've actually derived. It's only a theory, it's not a practical. So far, nuclear deterrence is not been proven practically successful yet in anywhere. You can't determine it practically. But theoretically, yes. The point that I mentioned just now is only theoretical. We don't know that actually the whole entire points that I discussed or explained just now, the 4 points, is due to the nuclear deterrence, or could be some other factors that also help to prevent, help the what you call the discussion just now. And defy of the moral values of humankind. What's nuclear deterrence? It's highly immoral to base the security of a nation on the threat to destroy cities and also potentially murder millions of people. It's a massacre or mass murder. So that's how you deter. So if you attack me, I'll attack you back. How? I'll destroy cities and also I'll potentially destroy millions, murder millions of people. So that's how I deter. So whether that is actually moral, that's ethical, that's a question that's been raised for the nuclear deterrence strategy. And third, the communication. The communication is very much important. The communication that to know how much and what's the strength of the adversary and the enemy is very important. Getting a wrong misinformation will lead to a wrongful war between two nuclear states. And this is an important point, rational decision makers to defend democracy. Nuclear weapons undermine democracy by giving few individuals the power to make decisions. And what if, let's say, the decision maker is irrational? Irrational could be in a time of stress and also tension. And whatever irrational decision made by the irrational state leaders, that will cause destruction to the entire world and civilization. So it could happen if a state, nuclear state, is being led by irrational leaders. Instill false sense of confidence. The nuclear states always instill false confidence between the people that the nuclear deterrence actually is their defense system. Nuclear deterrence is not a defense system, it's only a system to defer the major nuclear powers. It doesn't work against accidental of human error and also nature catastrophe. Human nature, that's very much possible, whereas accidental war through miscommunication, miscalculation, and malfunction is especially dangerous given thousands of nuclear warheads deployed and are on high alert status. What if, let's say, there's a miscalculation happens, miscommunications, or also malfunctions? It's actually controlled by the humans. What happens? What if, let's say, human errors take place? And the other one was nature catastrophe. What's, let's say, nature catastrophe takes place? Earthquake, flood, tsunami. Recently happens in Japan, where even though Japan is not actually a nuclear state, but their nuclear power plants were actually very much damaged and affected because of the nature catastrophe. So, what if, let's say, the nature catastrophe happens in the nuclear states? So that will give a big impact to the world. And it doesn't work against terrorism organization, that's definite. It doesn't work against a terrorism organization. Nuclear weapons and production sites are all over the world and are vulnerable to terrorist attack or to the theft of weapons or weapons-grade materials. If nuclear weapons get into the hands of terrorists, the rules of nuclear deterrence no longer apply. Terrorists are non-state actors. Let's say, and they are dispersed throughout the world. Let's say they do an attack on the nuclear states. How do the nuclear states which were attacked going to counter-react back? To which state they're going to attack? Because terrorists are non-state actors. So that will be a one-way attack, and that will actually fail the entire deterrence strategy. And extremely high budget allocation. Nuclear weapon states have drained extremely high financial budget of every nuclear weapon owned by nation. Various resources spent more on development and proliferation of nuclear science, technology rather than health, education, also welfare of its people. For example, India, Pakistan, North Korea, they are actually poverty-stricken country in the world, but they use their budget and also their fundings more on militarization and also nuclear power development and also deployment. So that's actually a waste of resources where the public or the people in that particular countries could not benefit the development of the country or the nation itself. It encourages nuclear proliferation, definitely. When a state is actually a nuclear state, definitely it will not stop it right there. It will also try to proliferate their nuclear weapons which they actually gain or they actually develop. So they try to build it more so that the deterrent strategy is still balanced. And the proliferation of also will be acquired by other states, non-nuclear states, where they see the 9 states actually having what they call added advantages on their nuclear weapons. So the non-nuclear states also will start to deploy on the nuclear proliferations. So that's actually the nuclear deterrence strategy actually leads to nuclear proliferations. And the failure will be catastrophic. 2 nuclear states when go for a war is not between the 2 nuclear states alone. It's a catastrophe to the human civilization of the humankind, of the entire globe. It could destroy or destruct the entire world or some part or some region of the world. It's not necessarily only the 2 states alone. And the last is that analyzing the strength of the nuclear weapons adversaries. We cannot analyze the strength of the adversaries. The strength of the adversaries are always in the dynamic mode. So it's always in the progress. So understanding of its adversary strength, constant increase of their nuclear capabilities is going to be very difficult. So when you don't understand the strength of adversaries, then it's difficult for us to come up with a plan of a nuclear deterrence. Nuclear deterrence is a matter of giving a fear, a threat to the adversaries. When the adversaries know himself that he's so strong, he's so powerful, he's not going to be deterred by a nuclear state which is much less strength with nuclear weapons. Can nuclear weapons be prohibited? Yes, can. Proposal of International Nuclear Weapons Convention is actually additional points I've given. We come to the conclusion. The topic of this presentation is nuclear deterrence relevant at contemporary. After much of discussion, point elaboration, I came out with 2 different sets of conclusion. The first, after much of detailed evaluation, can be concluded that even though there are many flaws in the nuclear deterrence strategy, but as long as 9 nuclear states own 9 nuclear weapons own states and more states yet to develop exist, so does the relevance of nuclear deterrence. So that will be my conclusion. First conclusion. Because as there's 9 states still exist, so the nuclear deterrence strategy need to be deployed. Nuclear deterrence strategy need to be relevant in order to curb and prevent the 9 states from going into war or going into conflict or going into disputes. So that nuclear deterrence strategy, by the means of balance of terror and mutually assured destructions elements, it's very much relevant for the 9 states. However, others maintain that nuclear balance of terror, a phrase heard during the Cold War, has never been effective or morally acceptable or must be eliminated immediately. Understanding these radical different views of world and the implication of world peace, even survival, should be high priority. Therefore, can be concluded the relevance of nuclear deterrence between non-nuclear states and the nuclear states and non-nuclear states are definitely not relevant in contemporary. Talking about the non-nuclear states and also nuclear states, between the non-nuclear states and nuclear states, the nuclear deterrence strategy is not relevant. For example, some countries like South Africa, Ukraine, Belarus, and also Kazakhstan have already given up nuclear weapons development and showing that it is possible for the nation to secure even without them by conventional means of weapons. So I have two sets of a conclusion. For the 9 states, the deterrent strategy is relevant. For the non-9 nuclear states, then the nuclear deterrence is not relevant. So with this conclusion, I like to conclude my presentation. I would like to thank Dr. Adam and also all my classmates who gave me the opportunity to present the topic today. Thank you very much and good day.